know it's been a while. I can't deny how ridiculous that is, and I can't even be sure if anybody will come back to the party. Even so, I do apologize for my absence. Just as a quick catch up before we begin, since I've been gone, I moved to Florida to experience the Disney College program, met the love of my life, came back to Chicago, and am now in a long distance relationship working an awful paying job at Taco Bell until I can afford to go back. Yeah, but I'm also working on an animated freelance project for a small business. It's gonna be a nice 30-minute feature to put on a resume, and even better, it's 2D animated, so relevant to today's topic. While there's a lot of singular events that have occurred over the last year, I want to save those stories for another time. For now, I want to talk about a 2D animated short film that was released on YouTube recently, and that's Blaise's Snow Bear. To start, I want to talk a little about Blaise. This dude is an icon. When it comes to traditional 2D animation, there are so many amazing animators out there, but only some are so good that their work makes them a household name. Western fans think of James Baxter, anime lovers think of Hayao Miyazaki, and all rightfully so. So many legendary 2D animators, and Blaise is one of them, mastering what it means to bring animals to life like no other. He's worked on some of your favorite classic films like The Rescuers Down Under, Mulan, Pocahontas. Yes, I know, but no one can deny how beautiful that film looks. But what you probably best know him for is Brother Bear. Hailing from the Ringling College of Art, earning a certificate in illustration, it was clear that Blaise made the most out of his time once hired by Walt Disney Feature Animation. In a 2025 article posted on The Contending by Joey Moser, Blaise mentions that Disney was developing a film entitled Bears. Even in the 90s, Disney was really pushing for those singular worded titles. But Blaise mentions how no one was working on it. Since he loved drawing animals, it was perfect for him, and he found himself now working as a director for Brother Bear. How cool is that? On his website, I would read that he would draw all sorts of different species of ducks in a garage while his father carved decoys. By 7, he could probably name every single duck species in North America. To start from such humble beginnings to making some of the greatest animated classics of all time is inspirational to say the least. Blaise didn't want his end-all be-all to be at Disney. Like many animators, he had more ambitious goals and looked to make something happen away from the Walt Disney Company. Very smart considering their near abandonment of traditionally animated feature projects. Granted, I have heard that might be changing. Well, Blaise would pursue starting up his own animation studio in Florida called Tradition Studios. During the 2.5-year timeline in which it existed, they planned on a film called The Legend of Timbo, but sadly, the company went bankrupt, canceling The Legend of Timbo for the foreseeable future. Looking at the illustrations done by the man himself, I really hope he attempts to pursue this project again. But it's not all doom and gloom, because by I think around 2016 is when he would begin developing his first ever personal short animated film, Snow Bear. This film tackles the feelings of loneliness, the longing for someone in our lives, and the fears of losing them. In a short film featuring the absence of dialogue, I was left more moved emotionally than I have been in a long time. And so I ask, will Snow Bear wake up Western animation? I should say that I'm not entirely sure when development began. I saw somewhere that development began like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm going based on Blaise's video posted on his YouTube channel 9 years ago where he taught clear posing for storyboarding, where a scene from Snow Bear is featured. The short also didn't come out this year. It was actually out about a year or so ago behind certain screenings. Only recently has it been put out for the first time on YouTube. Regardless, I'm sure you're wondering how this ties to the entirety of Western animation. Well, at the time of writing, this short has garnered over 400,000 views in just 4 days, and doesn't show any sign of slowing down. There are of course the 2025 theatrical releases of the 2D animated films like Chainsaw Man the Movie Res Arc that grossed 150 million worldwide, and Detective Conan One-Eyed Flashback that grossed over 162 million. Forgive me for the mispronunciation if I did mispronunciate it. These are impressive numbers of course, but what if I told you the numbers in the United States specifically? Well, Chainsaw Man made just $18 million US, and Detective Conan didn't even release in the United States. In terms of Chainsaw Man, $18 million is still impressive considering its $4.1 million US budget. Crazy considering the budget cost of Studio Ghibli's The Boy and the Heron, whose numbers also did well in the United States, grossing almost $50 million US in 2023. My point is, while these numbers may not have you jumping out of your seat, there is some demand for 2D animation, and if you're a studio in the United States looking for some global appeal, the numbers back up the fact that 2D is a respected medium worldwide. But these films, even The Boy and the Heron, weren't made in the West. The rest of the world doesn't need to be reawakened to the greatness of 2D animation. We in the West do, and as any old American will tell you, or I guess any British person will tell you, we can be very self-centered over here. Plenty of 2D animated films have been released in the United States, don't get me wrong, most notably The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. But I'm gonna go even further and say that it will take Disney and Disney alone to restore what they intentionally buried. How does Aaron factor into that? Well, he worked there, duh. But no, seriously, there's something to be said about what has been lost in animation across all genres and techniques within this medium that only a few legendary animators still know. Listen to this quote from the book, The Illusions of Life, Disney Animation by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson. An artist could represent the actual figure, if he chose, meticulously capturing its movements and actions. Or he could caricature it, satirize it, ridicule it, and he was not limited to mere actions. He could slow emotions, feelings, even innermost fears. He could give reality to the dreams of the visionary. He could create a character on the screen that not only appeared to be living, but thinking and making decisions all by himself. Most of all, to everyone's surprise, this new art of animation had the power to make the audience actually feel the emotions of a cartoon figure. Buy this book if you haven't already, especially if you're an aspiring animator. If you already have the book, don't you dare judge me for quoting the book from only 2 pages in. I'm a slow reader, okay? In all seriousness, this to me perfectly encapsulates what I saw in Snow Bear. Immediately, you see this polar bear walking alone in this massive Arctic setting. What comes as no surprise for anyone who knows the most basic information about polar bears. We never truly think of how alone these creatures really are. Even so, when he stands to look around, you feel that something isn't right. Is he looking for food, or is there something deeper here? This is answered when the bear comes in contact with an Arctic fox. He doesn't charge for it, he stays still. The fox peers out into the light, and ever so clearly can you see the bear smile in joy. Only that ends when the fox runs away. As a viewer, we can't blame the fox, but we're hurt when we see the bear's reaction. He's saddened, but he reacts in a way that tells us that he's been through this before. He continues alone, seeing a trio of killer whales. They look like a family, a father, mother, and a child. The bear jumps into the water, coming in close contact with the child. The whale child and polar bear swim around one another. It almost appears as though they're dancing in the waves. Their movements feel free and at ease until the bear reaches out, frightening the whale's parents and provoking them to intervene. The whales lead their child away, once again leaving our polar bear friend left alone. As he trudges along this lonely path, he sees a flock of geese flying in unison. He reaches his hand up to them, falling down onto the snow where he begins mimicking their flight movements. He wants to be there, flying with them. These were the scenes that drew me, and I'm sure many others, in. Beyond just the masterful works of animation and sheer immense knowledge of the very real movements of these animals, Blaise made us feel the emotions of each of these characters. The curiosity of the fox that prompted it to move closer, but ultimately turned away in fear. The innocence of the young whale that led it to interact with this stranger in ways that mirrors so many different aspects of our society. How the whale's more experienced and understandably untrusting parents kept the bear away. We understood, and we understood it without needing a peep of dialogue. While we didn't get a closer viewing of the birds, I thought that scene perfectly captured the true freedom that lies with birds that have the ability to fly, the most freeing ability of all. I should say there are great films out there that showcase this feeling of emotion within the movements of these on-screen characters. Flow is a great example, a movie that would not just be nominated for an Academy Award, but won against other nominees like Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. The highs were astronomical in 2024 for animated films. This year, not so much. I haven't seen Zootopia 2 yet, but K-Pop Demon Hunters and Neja 2 looks like they're going to win a lot of awards for animated features for 2025. Back to Snow Bear. We reached the point of the film that acts as sort of the rising action of the film. He excitedly approaches this mold of snow that is shaped almost like another polar bear. Once he's up close, he sees that it's just snow. He almost walked away, but then thought of an idea. Why not make my own friend? Inspiring a series of beautiful shots in the film that leave you sad, but also just happy for this bear because he finally seems to be having fun. with the most beautiful shot that I believe is a fully illustrated painting where they stare at the sunset. We reach the climax of the film, where things start to remind me of the classic 1969 Frosty the Snowman special. Blaise hints at the very real underlying themes of climate change. The snow is melting, and because of this, our snow friend will soon melt too. We see how important his friend is to the bear as he quickly goes under a structure of ice to hide his snow friend in the shade, trying so desperately to keep it from melting. He'll add more and more snow, hoping to keep it from fully melting away. But as the structure they're hiding in breaks off and drifts out onto the sea due to the warm temperatures, he gives up. The polar bear begins to cry, coming to accept that he can't save his friend, but he can at least enjoy the last moments he has with it. So he gives his friend a loving embrace. One of the most tear-jerking moments is when you see the bear staring at the puddle that was once his friend. All he can hold of it now is the rock that acted as its nose. He holds it tight, ending the scene. Arriving on a new patch of land, lacking in snow, greenery surrounds much of the area. Even the clouds are of a dark gray. As a viewer, we feel like all hope is lost for our polar bear friend. That is until he stares out in the distance. He sees something familiar. As he approaches, he sees another mode of a snow bear. But he didn't make this one, so who did? Well, we'd soon find out that it was none other than a female polar bear. The two locked eyes, slowly approaching each other, unable to hide their joy. One of the saddest moments for me was seeing her introduction to the film. She was pushing more snow over to keep her snow friend alive, just like our polar bear did. So when the two polar bears go off to experience their new lives as their journey has only just begun, the little molds of snow that kept them going in a time of loneliness looked on, slowly melting away of course, but doing so together. It was a truly heart-wrenching scene that filled you with happiness, sadness, and fulfillment. So when I think of how this relates to Western animation in general, I guess I'm looking for a few things. There's always that bias I have for 2D animation, but I have that in a theatrical sense because in the West, it just doesn't exist anymore. To me, there's no other technique like 2D animation. Just like there isn't with stop motion, 3D animation, or any other type of technique. I feel like as a broader audience, we all see that, but for some reason, 2D animation isn't given that same love. It's always, man, I really miss this style of animation, or the style of animation has so much more life to it than anything that's been put out in the last decade, etc. But no, I love stop motion. I love 3D. I love the incredibly creative style in which has been popularized by Spider-Verse. But 2D animation, I live for it. It's my passion. I went to school for it. It's what I'm making my career right now with this freelance project I'm doing. Bottom line, I don't need to hear how 2D is better than everything else. I want 2D to stand alongside these other techniques in the theatrical world as they're meant to. Another thing I'm looking for is a feeling. A feeling that can be, of course, brought out by great animation, but also a compelling story. One thing I won't do is disrespect any animated movies out there. Unless it's Shark Tale. If you've seen my tier list videos, you know that, which is crazy considering it's my girlfriend's favorite movie. Funny how life works. Nonetheless, it's the feeling that I feel is lost amongst a lot of the movies coming out of the West. Like I said, I haven't seen Zootopia 2 yet, but I do remember seeing Elio. It wasn't a bad movie, but something about it felt lacking. Maybe I'll make a video on Elio soon, but more often than not, I'm leaving theaters not remembering what impacted me most. Like the biggest impact I got from Elio was the fact that there was no impact, and I just kinda spent money that I could have held on to. It's not a matter of just obsessing over the past. Wild Robot is incredibly heartfelt, so is Flow, and many others. It just sucks that, at least in the West, top tier works aren't the norm. For every Wild Robot that releases, something of lesser quality comes soon after. These are just a couple of the things that I feel are lacking, which can pretty much be summed up as a compelling story told in the style of 2D animation. Snow Bear does this in ways that I hope inspires artists behind the scenes that work at these studios to do so as well. Granted, I can't deny that the higher-ups likely prevent them from showcasing these kinds of stories in efforts to keep playing it safe. I said it earlier that it would be Disney that ultimately creates this shift again, as they are the only major studio in the West that has built its foundation on 2D animated movies, and their standards in regards to the 12 principles of animation has helped them produce what are still some of the best 2D animated pictures of all time. It's their style that people are clamoring for, And while Avatar Studios looks to bring 2D back to the West, I worry that the style they're going for will mirror a more Eastern aesthetic that, while it's great to have, doesn't really accomplish the point that I'm trying to make. Or maybe it does. I mean, 2D animated films released in theaters in any style sounds awesome, but I guess I'd hope that what gets released has a Western feel. I don't know. I love Avatar, and I refuse to be picky. Just give us more 2D animation. It's funny how Once Upon a Studio earned 23 million viewers on YouTube, and yet it still won't click for these people that we want this technique back so badly. I could see it now. Disney's first ever 2D animated theatrical feature since Disney's Winnie the Pooh. The marketing would be amazing. There's always a chance, and I'll never give up, but we'll just have to wait and see. All in all, Aaron Blaise created a masterpiece in Snow Bear. The themes of loneliness, climate change, love, all of it culminating in a timeless story that people will admire for years to come. It reinvigorated me as an artist, and I didn't even need reinvigorating. I love the way this film was animated. The beautifully painted backgrounds, the details in the fur, the effort put into showcasing these characters' emotions. That doesn't just happen. It takes so much time and so much skill to make something like that work. You feel and care for this character and only want to see the best for them. Blaise, you've added another masterpiece to your incredible resume. Thank y'all for checking out my video. I loved working on it, and I'm so glad to finally be able to talk to y'all again. Life is hard, dude. It really is, but you gotta keep going. Not just for your loved ones, but for you too. This portrait was drawn in appreciation for this outstanding project. I hope you like it. Until next time.